Hi everybody. People tell me that I have an ego problem, but that's rubbish. My biggest problem is fear of being assassinated. In all seriousness, until recently the world had an ego. We were the masters of our destiny, creators of our universe. The future was ours to take. Humanity was in charge. But this coronavirus has brought the world to its knees. Illness and death, social isolation, schools closed, lockdowns, economic peril, panic buying. Today I went through my diary, Exhibit A, and crossed out event after event that was scheduled, and the ego was taken down a peg or two, or three. We now realize the truth that we say in every blessing, every bracha. Before we eat food, during our davening, during our prayers, we often say, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech ha'olam. Blessed are you, Hashem, our God, King of the universe. We realized we're not the King of the universe. Ego stands for edge God out. The 19th century Quaker John Bright often quipped, an egotist is a self-made man who worships his creator. And this current crisis, I believe, is the antidote to ego. Most of us feel powerless over a world we can no longer control. In this week's Torah portion, the verse is Vayas Moshe k'chol asher tzivah Hashem oseh kein oso. Moses did everything according to that which Hashem, God, commanded him. So he did. The Torah states that Moses did as he was commanded to. And this phrase is repeated with each of the many varied tasks necessary for the construction of the tabernacle in the desert. Tailoring of the garments for the priests, and the performance of the service of offerings in the new house of God. It could have mentioned this just once, and we would understand that Moses was loyal to God's task. But why is it so often repeated throughout the parsha, throughout the portion? And at the end it says that he did ka'asher tzivah Hashem es Moshe. That Moses did all of these things as God commanded Moses. Surely it should just say, and Moses did all of these things as God commanded him. No, it says, as God commanded Moses. But it's already speaking about Moses. We know who it is. Someone once asked, what's the difference between previous generations and our generation? In our times, a person cannot speak about anything he does without injecting a hint of ego into the conversation. In earlier generations, it was quite different. When a person spoke about themselves, the listener had difficulty discerning about whom the person was talking, and did not sense that that person they were talking to was praising themselves. And this is what Moses did. When he served Hashem, it was as if God was using a certain Jewish person named Moshe to accomplish his mission. It was as if Moses himself had no subjective gain in the matter. He did according to what God was telling some bloke Moses to do. He was his own bystander. It wasn't a matter of, I did it, but I was chosen to do it. Moses did everything that God instructed Moses. It wasn't about him. He was a vessel for making the divine master plan happen. Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky is one of the leading rabbinic lights of our generation. He lives in Bnei Brak in Israel. And he wrote a short letter instructing Jewish people about what we can work on spiritually during this time of crisis. What character traits can we try and develop? And he focused on the trait of anova in Hebrew, which means humility. Humility does not mean humiliation. Rather, it is an awareness of that which we see in Matzah as we build up to Seder night on Passover coming up soon. When we lift up the Matzah, we say, Halachma Anya. This is the bread of affliction. This is the simple bread. It's the bread of a poor person. Because Matzah is made up of 3 ingredients: flour, water, and time. 18 minutes and no more. There's no puffy arrogance in it. It's a humble bread. You see, with humility, we can rebuild our world anew. With humility comes gratitude, care for others, and a sense of peace. If we take the example of Moses, then he went about his job quietly as if someone else was instructed. It wasn't about him. If we can look at our world with new eyes, and we've managed to edge out the ego, then we come to the clarity of the Matzah. A simplicity, knowing what really matters in our lives, feeling grateful for those we have around us. As all the trappings of the modern world have become smaller and smaller, we end up realizing what's really important in life, and that is a great gift. So in the midst of this crisis, and people are going through difficult times, we all are, we have to grab a positive. And maybe that positive is realizing the gift of humility, because we can only really grow when we're open to change, when we're open to seeing that we aren't the center of the universe, that we don't really have a clue what's going on. But in that simplicity, there is a beauty, an opportunity of growth, an opportunity of caring for one another, being there for one another, and developing as a Jewish person. That is the essence of our task at this time. I wish you all safety, good health, to remain positive, to be together, unified, individually, collectively. And please God, we should see the end of this virus and all of its effects, and that this coming Shabbat should be a respite from all of the chaos that's been going on. I wish you all Shabbat Shalom.